I'm Jenny-Jaymes and my sidekick, Christian Cano, partner in crime, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jim's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon. Good morning, everybody. It is Two Queers in the Truck time, and it is August 7th.
Wow.
We have made it to the 8th month of this year, and it's like, wow. So we survived July and the 5 Wednesdays of July, and now we're into the first week of August, the first full week of August. And for people that are local, this is Charlotte Pride Month. We have our biggest event of the year, arguably. It's one of the biggest outdoor events Charlotte has, probably other than NASCAR events, and it probably rivals a lot of the NASCAR events. It's last year we had a little over 275,000 attendees over a 2-day period, and I don't expect any less this year. Queerness has definitely not gone away between now and last year in 2023. So I'm assuming it's going to be just as big. It's grown every year that I've lived here in the last 6 years. So one could surmise that we're going to have another successful Charlotte Pride a week and year. And so we'll jump right into it. I'm not going to even jump into Charlotte Pride. I had an interesting thing happen to me over the weekend, and I went to something that some other friends had been hosting, but a friend of mine that was related to this event has taken it over this year. It's called the Big Gay Picnic, and it was a little different from the fact that they were going to do this Palestine teach-in thing, but they didn't put what the group that was involved with it on the flyer, which was the first red flag. The second red flag is when I got there really wasn't a picnic spread. There was a couple of miscellaneous little snacks and pretty much everybody else's own drinks, like sodas and stuff. But there really wasn't. Traditionally, there was like two or three tables of picnic foods. So I already knew it was kind of dubious, and the fact that I was recruited to come to this meeting primarily is one of the marshals. We've never needed marshals at the Big Gay Picnic before, which meant that the content of this teach-in must be fairly controversial. In fact, it was supposed to be in June and it got rescheduled because of security concerns, come to find out. And after attending it, I can see why. And it is a pro-Palestinian group that goes by the name of Jewish Voice for Peace, which I don't know if it's not, as far as I know, it's the Jewish faith is not sanctioned this, nor is Israel sanctioned this. This is not a Israeli-based group or a Jewish-based group, even though I believe that supposedly Jews have organized it. People of Jewish faith have organized it. And I don't know the two organizers or the two teachers there. I don't know if they're Jewish or not. I've got no way of knowing that. But it was very dubious. Now, where this kind of heats up is the fact I'm neither Jewish nor Palestinian. So, I have no, like several of our libertarian friends say, I have no dog in this fight. I went for the picnic food, so I already was disappointed by the moment there. I was like Yogi Bear. I was like, hey, boo, boo, boo. We went to picnic baskets. And so already super, because game events usually feed you. And I was already I was smart enough to eat before I went because I was suspect considering this was supposed to be an educational experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of was, but not in the way I think they intended. But I also had a friend there, and I'm not going to name her because I haven't gotten her permission to do it. And I think she'd be fine with it, but I'm going to withhold her name. Um, but this friend of mine that's also involved in Democrat politics, and we've been on some of the same committees and things of this nature, also was attending. Well, I didn't even know she was attending. She is a deeply Jewish faith and has worked for direct Jewish causes over the years. That's kind of how I know her. Is she's very much is nice about it, but she does wear her faith on her sleeve. It's one of her characteristics that I knew of, right away, because we've talked about it many times, and she's talked about it in political circles. And she's had run-ins with this group, this JVP group, in other cities. And anyway, they started to define the terms of like pink washing and all these other terms. And it was trying to make this a queer coded event, trying to make this part of the LGBT community. Because both of the speakers, I believe, were queer. And trying to co opt the queer movement for something that really doesn't have anything to do with us. And or really even Americans per se, is that they're taking an event and using an excuse to recruit people in our community here in Charlotte under dubious circumstances without any disclosures, any naming of the group in the event description, very vague circumstances, which to me always is a red flag. When you read an event description, you really don't know the details. My spidey sense went off. I almost didn't go, but I ended up going. And I'm glad I did, from the fact that when my friend counteracted some of the, or contradicted some of the stuff that they were saying, because she was actually there at some American events where this JVP got aggressive, they got aggressive with her. And I was sitting next to her, so I didn't leave her side. And there was 4 or 5 of them that surrounded her, which technically they surrounded me too, and started getting very aggressive. One of the Arabic people, and I don't know his name, and I don't care to know his name, started misgendering me, calling me sir, things like that, which is weird that we're at a queer event.
Yeah.
Long story short, the organizers, the people that organized this big gay picnic, took JVP's side. Eventually, my friend walked up the hill. I walked up with her. We sat and we talked for a long time because honestly, it was very traumatic for her. And that was the end of our first segment, but I'm going to carry it into the second segment. Because I don't like non-queer issues being co-opted into becoming queer issues, or recruiting the queer community when we have so many fights here in the United States. And at some point, we've got to pick our battles and pick what we're going to get involved with. And queer coded, if they want to have a general event, not call it the Big Gay Picnic, or make it part of the Big Gay Picnic or Pride or anything like that. I understand, but most of the people that attended it, I haven't seen at any political or advocacy things. These aren't people that are heavily involved. They tended to be younger. They tended not to. They probably, most of them probably have never voted before. But using this as a legit straight up recruitment opportunity into something that I would call an incursion group, that is definitely designed to turn Americans against Israel. And instead of turning them against war and being anti-war, which I do think is a queer issue. I think war disproportionately affects all vulnerable populations, no matter what they're, Latinx, queer, people of color, whomever, Muslim, Jew, Christian, doesn't matter. War sucks, and war affects both sides, any side. And I think if they stuck to the message that's in their name, which is Jewish Voice for Peace,
Sure.
and we're advocating for peace, but instead they were trying to use most of the terms with saying that Israel is the one that's trying to queer code their cause by trying to queer code the cause for Palestine. And I'm going, so basically you're doing the same thing Israel's doing, but for Palestine, claiming that you're a Jewish group. And we see this with MAGA. And even though this is supposed to be a progressive group, of like, are you really, are we getting progress? The whole part of being progressive is providing progress. Are you providing a service or an advocacy that's helping the queer community first and foremost? And if you're going to use an American audience, you're going to do it in the United States. Is it dubious to go to events like the Big Gay Picnic and other queer events and infiltrate these groups and try to turn them to against Israel? And again, I'm not defending Israel. I wasn't going to I defended my friend.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let them they didn't get physically aggressive, but they sure got close to her personal space, and they surrounded her, and then they wanted to pull me away from her. And I said, I ain't moving. And you know me, if anybody knows me in person, they know that I'm going to defend my friends. I ain't going anywhere unless she moves. I ain't moving, just like in the movie Backdraft. If you go, I go. And, I'm not going to sit there and abandon my friend. And even though I didn't come there to meet up with her, I sure as shit ain't gonna fucking leave somebody's side when people are noticeably getting aggressive.
Yeah.
And I stepped in and started pushing back verbally against these people getting aggressive, and they finally backed down and moved away from her physically. They all did. And then we stepped away from the event. But I find it just interesting. I find the aggression to be very MAGA-like. I find the behaviors, the young Arabic man was very MAGA-like. I felt like I was talking to a MAGA. I honestly could not tell the difference. I know what I am, but what are you? You're not the boss of me. Very much sounded like the MAGA protesters that we ran into in 2020. And so I find that it's one of those things that's just interesting. It's a weird place to be in, and I do feel sorry for Palestine. I do, and I don't think Israel should be bombing the shit out of them. Just like I don't think we should have bombed the shit out of Afghanistan and Iraq, even though the kill ratio, we killed 3,000 Iraqi and Afghanistan citizens for every one American was killed. But we didn't call that a genocide either. And I'm not saying the thing that happened in Palestine is not a genocide, but I am saying it is a war. And there is more fighting coming from Iran, Hezbollah, Yemen. There's a lot of people jumping on Palestine's side, striking back. And not to mention Hamas and other groups. There's 14 different factions in Palestine. And most of all, we should be talking about peace. How do we stop war altogether, not just in this region, but worldwide? War is the enemy of progress, and we can't have progress without peace. We just can't. It'll never go anywhere. But we are up against our first break already, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers and Truck. Hey y'all, thanks for watching Coffee and Pandosi, but I wanted to talk about something personal. I started a company with a business partner of mine called Java Notes Records. And we have an Instagram page, and in our biography, in our or as the cool kids call it, the bio, we have a link to our Indiegogo page. If you go onto our Instagram or our Facebook, we have a campaign going for our Indiegogo, and it's helping us start this company that's going to help so many people between employment, charitable events, things of that nature. We're really doing this for our local community and really trying to help others and create a job for me too. But if you would go to our Instagram page for Java, like JAVA Notes Records, and I would appreciate the support. Thanks for listening.
All
Bye,
right.
y'all.
So Instagram and Facebook, Java Notes
Records.
Right. Got it. Java Notes Records. All right. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye. Happy Pod. We are back. But I find things like that very interesting. It's one of those things that that's not how I wanted my Sunday to go. I just want to stuff my face with some picnic foods, especially some cookies, because usually they bring good cookies.
Yeah.
There's queers bring good cookies.
Were there a lot of people there, Jen?
I'm gonna guess there was probably between 30 and 40. It was actually smaller than typical big gay pickup. And the normal people that came there, almost none of them were there. So it wasn't even, I was disappointed that one, that the attendance was very low. Two, there was really no food for the attendees at all whatsoever. I think somebody showed.
Do you think there wasn't as many people there because of this group, or is it just that? Okay.
I think most people saw I know that there's over 200 people that follow this group.
Yeah.
And none of the original people that founded this meetup, this big gay picnic over the years, we've done it multiple summers in a row.
Sure.
Were even there. The only one that was there, she wasn't even the founder of it, because it was a gay couple that started this. They kind of just did it as I don't even know if we originally called it the Big Gay Picnic, but that kind of developed the name after a while. But it was really weird. It was just it was one of those really weird things. And you hate to see that. It is concerning that they are trying to co-op the LGBT movement. That does bother me. But moving on to bigger and better things, Pete Buttigieg has been in the news a lot. I guess because he's in the running for the vice presidency ticket for the Democrats for Vice President Harris. But it was a funny article on the LGBT Nation website called "Pete Buttigieg used one word to tell 190,000 white dudes why to support Vice President Harris." And I think it's very interesting because they had a meetup or a virtual meetup the other day that I believe there was 190,000 participants that raised over $4 million. So it's kind of like white dudes for Harris. Which is a very bizarre name. I mean, I love it, but it's just kind of weird. But I guess because typically white dudes favor MAGA versus the Democrats, and I guess that's the direction they're kind of going. And so it was a very white event because Pete's Mayor Pete's very white, and I love him, but there were several big governors in the deal. Singer Lance Bass, that and actors Jeff Bridges, Mark Hamill, Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
I
Tim
think
Walz,
I think I think our Governor Cooper also spoke
yeah, Roy
with him.
Cooper was
Yeah,
in
I think.
attendance in this event.
Yeah.
Yep, it says it in the
Hmm.
article. Actually, they named
Yeah.
Governor Cooper, and I love it. From the fact that it's super funny. I love things like this. It's super creative, and it tells you how creative the Vice President Harris's campaigning is,
Hmm.
and it really brings me to another point of I love the creativity. I love the aggressiveness of the campaign. I love that they're matching and exceeding the MAGA aggressiveness
Yep.
and showing that not only a woman, but a woman of color can fight back. And that's always been kind of, oh, well, women are too emotional to fight back and they're too emotional to
Sure.
lead. And she's showing everything that we need to see: the sass, the wit,
Yes.
the humor, the strength that you would expect from a
Hmm.
president. She's being very
Yes.
presidential.
Hmm.
She's being dignified, but at the same time very human, very very powerful. And I love it. And I love that other people in the Democrat Party, that sometimes with women of color, we
Hmm.
saw this with Sherry Beasley here in North Carolina, where they take a little bit
Yep.
of a step back, maybe a
Hmm.
couple steps back. We saw this with Erica Smith in
Yep.
2020, supporting Cal Cunningham preemptively over Erica Smith and another candidate of color,
Hmm.
to pick the white guy, the white
Yeah.
straight guy that ended up being a dirty cheater. And
Hmm. Hmm.
and I love the fact that they're including LGBT people in these events, like Last Mass,
Hmm.
Mayor Pete, so on and so forth. And it's wise. It's really, really smart. I love the marketing. I love the aggression. I don't know how you feel about it, or what your
Hmm.
take is on it when you saw. Because I'm assuming you saw this come up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And what
I
was
thought it
your
was great.
thoughts?
I kind of like you, Jenny, because we have been so used to um, a name like this coming from the other side, but not in a good way, you know, more like white guys, almost like white nationalist kind of people, who are really want to emphasize. This was more done out of both tongue in cheek, but also, uh, because my understanding is the reason they called it white dudes is because the guy who spoke, one of the actors who spoke, he's known as his acting roles, he's called a dude. I forgot his Bridges. Is that his name? Jeff
Jeff
Bridges?
Bridges. Yeah.
Yeah, so Jeff Bridges in the acting world, I guess, is known as the dude, and so
Well, that came from a movie. That came from a
yes, and
movie called
so
The Big Lebowski.
exactly, and so they kind of played off of that when they did this, and my first instinct was, oh, that's kind of, I'm not sure how that's going to come across, but they did it really well.
Yeah.
They did it really. Uh, somehow they stopped the typical MAGA, well, why are you making this a racist event? This, because it was almost like they did it with almost humor in a way that they were like, we don't really care what you think about it because this is our event. They
Yeah.
didn't somehow they didn't let the other people co-op it. And I was like, I was surprised. And so I thought it was really good because they had a black women for Harris event. They've had a black men, they've had a white women, and now they had a white dudes. And so I thought it was really, really cool. And I almost kind of want a almost like a gays for Harris kind of call, and then maybe a Hispanic for Harris kind of call. Because being so mixed, I can participate in the white ones, the Hispanic ones, and the gay ones, and the dog ones. There was a kind of a joking group called Dog Parents for Harris, and so I think it's really cool.
Well, and I think the whole point is that we're taking back identities that the dismissing the idea that white men will only vote for conservatives and Republicans. And
Exactly.
and just because the Republican Party's 90% white doesn't mean 90% of white people want to vote for Republicans. That
That's a good
isn't,
point, Jenny.
and in some
Exactly.
generations, overwhelmingly white people vote for
Hmm.
Democrats. Like if you take
Exactly.
Gen Z, it's almost 70% vote Dem.
Exactly.
And you got, suffice it to say that's kind of universal across the board,
Yeah.
or higher, in some
Hmm.
intersections. With queer people, it's probably 90+%. The last time I saw it was probably nine. In fact, the total of the Gen Z generation, 28% of the Gen Z generation identifies as queer in some way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Only 21% identify as Republican.
Yeah.
There's more queer people in Gen Z than Republicans.
Yeah.
And I find it very humorous. I find that these largest two adult generations, Gen Z and the millennials, are very decidedly progressive
Hmm.
and primarily Democrat, and across the board. And yeah, I
Hmm.
agree with you. I think seeing, you know, fur parents, fur baby, that have, gays
Yeah.
that have fur babies,
Yeah.
gays for Harris,
Hmm.
and I think seeing those different intersections, seeing yourself represented somehow, or for some of us, we have multiple identities. We're not just one
Hmm.
identity. You and I both have multiple identities. We're
And that's what pisses them
multiple.
off so much. It pisses
Yeah,
them off so much because they want everyone to be a specific way.
vanilla.
They want someone to be, yes. And human beings aren't like that. I mean,
Mm-mm.
white people are not homogenous. They are Italianish. They are a mixture of people. So it really goes against their what they want, which is this person is like this, and it really bothers them because it makes them feel uncomfortable because it makes them, I think, realize human beings aren't just one specific way.
No, no,
They hate the diversity in human beings. That just
correct.
drives them crazy.
They fear it. They it scares
Yes,
the shit out of them.
yes,
Because they want the narrative that every story is white dominated,
exactly.
and it should be white centric.
Hmm.
When there's many stories that aren't, most stories are not white centric, or just
Sure.
not just white centric or white nationalist.
Hmm.
That there's many stories that originate from other identities that have nothing to do with race or
Yeah,
ethnicity or anything.
exactly.
There's a lot of things that, it may be religious, connotation, or
Hmm.
it may be, who you love, or maybe, a food that you love. I don't know,
Hmm.
and it brings me to another point. There was an article about Elliot Page, and that's a trans male, and a trans male actor, that is well known for the Umbrella Academy series that was on, I believe, I think it's still on,
Hmm.
the Netflix network. And Elliot just came out with a memoir last year, and really is frustrated with the misinformation about transphobia, but also about anti-trans legislation, and trying to put a positive spin on anti-trans legislation, and is pushing back, and is doing a PR tour, and talking openly about it as a trans male, which a lot of times we don't talk about the trans men. We focus primarily, most of this legislation's targeted to one side of the binary, which is the trans feminine or trans women, and completely ignore 50% of the equation, if you're going to break it down to a binary, which is the trans men
Hmm.
or the trans masculine human beings,
Hmm.
which, you know, again, comes from a form of misogyny. And again, I always say MAGAs are anti-women. I mean,
Yep.
they seem to just hate women.
Hmm.
Obviously, I mean, they don't want women to have IVF. They don't want them to have contraception. They don't want to have any kind of access to reproductive care or health care. And in general, the MAGAs are just nasty people.
They're
They're
weird.
yeah, they're weird as shit.
They're weird.
Um, we are up against our second break, where we'll come back with talking about some more weirdness of MAGA right after this message.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
Hey, thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck. And Christian and I just blathering on about craziness in the world today. Y'all be safe out there. There is a lot of Republicans on the road.
That's right.
Have a good week out there.
Bye.
We are back. MAGAs are fucking weird. Like, they are stranger than duck lips most of the time. Like, it is, even though that wasn't really a topic that I was going to talk about, but we can deep dive in. Dick Suckus, when he was campaigning, that's so strange. Of all the attributes, he's a weird son of a bitch.
Yep.
Awkward as hell. Weird, and not weird in a cute way. Like, some people are weird, but in a cute way, a kooky way, an eccentric way.
Yes.
Dick Suckus is just kind of a weird, creepy Nazi way.
Yes.
Like you wonder just what's going on in that brain. It's kind of creepy. He has kind of a weird past. He showed up to, high school drinking parties when he was a teacher. It's just, there's just a lot of weirdness about them. And,
Yes.
and the same way with these older Republican men and their adopted sons,
Exactly.
especially the underage sons, like the teenage sons, and having
It's
this
just
weird, creepy kind of sexual relationship with them, but they don't admit to the sexual part. Or even Speaker Johnson, that's his stop masturbation buddy is his own son, his biological son, and just a lot of it's just it's kind of creepy.
It is creepy. It's creepy and weird, and I'm so glad that the gloves have come off with our Vice President Harris's campaign and talking points, because we have to identify them. It was hard for us, I think, to come up with words. I mean, you and I use, and we have kind of co-opted the words queens and sissies because I know that triggers them so much. But really, they're just weird and creepy. So I'm glad that she's using these words, because those are words that I think everyday people, they know someone who's weird and creepy. They know they're not like, they know someone in their life, whether it's the crazy neighbor or something, that they go, that person's a little off, and that's what the MAGA people are. They're these grown-ass adults that do things that are just weird, that human beings just don't do. And it starts with Trump. I mean, there are people who are around Trump that before he was president will go, he's kind of a little off. He's a little weird, And so I'm glad that, yes, it's exactly.
Lecherous, and has had tons of cases with underage pageant performers. Where he's been accused of and sued for assaulting young girls, and they were girls. These weren't even women; these were underage girls that were below 18. That he would go into the dressing rooms. I'm like, dude, you don't need to be in the, you're not one of the parents.
Exactly.
why are you even coming in the dressing rooms? What is the point of coming in the dressing rooms? I could see, like, right before they go on stage is coaching them or anything like that. And he's not even a pageant coach. The dumbass was just own the pageant. And he had this entitlement that he could come back and creep on these girls because he probably was assaulting them. And I can almost guarantee it. Speaking of Dick Suckers, a federal judge blocked the Stop Woke Act this last week. And Dick Suckers goes on a very bizarre rant after that and gets super upset. And it is their tantrums. They throw these weird tantrums after they don't get their way. We've seen this with judge appointments for the Supreme Court. We've seen this with, Lady Graham, having meltdowns in Senate hearings. And we see it over and over again with these weirdos that they have these tantrums, or they're just absolute nuclear meltdowns when they don't get their way. And you're not the boss of me, and I'm going to stomp my little feet like I'm a child at Toys R Us that didn't get that toy. And it's really, really creepy. I mean, I'm like, do you know how old you are? Exactly. And you're right. Yeah. They're big old sissies. They're big old queens, big old drama queens. And we need to call them exactly what they are. And we can't let up. We can't let up like we did in 2016. We gotta, on all fronts, we gotta push on the gas all the way through November, and just don't give them any room to breathe. Keep pounding, keep the fight up. Keep engaging people. Keep getting people registering to vote. Encourage them to go out and vote when it's voting time and early voting time, and be relentless. We need to just be friggin' relentless on this side of it. Republicans, y'all can take off. That's awesome. Stay home. No, don't worry about it. We got it. We got this handled. I would love for them to sit out this election as much as possible. Of course, the Olympics are going on in Paris right now, and a record 191 LGBTQ athletes are at the Paris Games. Wow! Which is a new Olympic record. And the opening ceremony was very queer, and I had to talk about this one scene. And I didn't watch all of it, but I watched bits and pieces of it. Yeah. And one of them was these three very queer, they look like some version of gay males that were kind of flirting with you. There was I think three of them. And then they end up going into, looks like an apartment, and then closing the door behind them. And the implication is they're about to get it on. And also, too, the scene of the Dionysus and all that from Greek mythology that Christians are confusing and saying, well, that looked too much like the Last Supper. Exactly. When it is actually an Olympic history thing. It is the Feast of the Dionysus. Yeah. And when you put them up against each other, it looks like the Feast of Dionysus. That's what it was intended to be.
Well, Jenny, don't you think, and I don't want to co-opt what you're talking about, but one of the reasons I think it's very upsetting for Christians, especially the evangelical Christians, because they have to admit when they see things like that their religion is based off of older religions. And so there's a lot of things in their religion or in Christianity that are really just, they co-opt older Greek religions. And so they want to think that all religions just started with them. That there was nothing before them. And in order for them to do that, they have to admit that it's quite possible that it's just a fad.
Or they, there's things before, during, and since. Exactly. Christianity came onto the scene, and other things other than white people and white Christian nationalists exist in this world. They always have.
Exactly.
There was history happening in China, Africa, Europe. Like, it's not, things go on in this world that are outside of the United States. You know, it's not like the Hollywood movies where everything happens in the United States.
Yeah.
Is that it's a globe, you know, there's 100 and something countries.
Sure.
140, 180 countries or whatever it is. Things happen outside of the United States all the time, every day. There's 8 billion of us, and only 5% of the world's population is American. And we're a small part of a big old wheel. And we're just a spoke in the wheel, but we really think we are the center of the universe when we're really the hillbillies of the universe, or the hillbillies of the planet. And we're literally the trailer park and the white trash of the planet. We really are. We really are. We are. We got the fancy 4x4 truck out front and the Corvette, and we're in a single wide trailer. And but they are so upset that these drag queens did this Feast of Dionysus and then this other queer coded little orgy scene, and the Republicans got just, and you're exactly right. They act like religion started and stops with Christianity. There's nothing outside of that.
I thought it was really good, Jenny. I thought it was very well done. It was incredible how they could do all of that in all these different places and combine it. It was an incredible artistic production. I thought overall it was very well. Plus, it was very smart not to have all the athletes in one place.
Yep.
So it was really very well done. I don't think anyone's going to be able to beat something like that for a long time.
And you know, and it's typical Paris. You know, there's you know, it was on the River Seine part of it, and it was very elaborate. And because Paris is a very elaborate, sophisticated city, doesn't always smell the best, but but it's, you know, you're gonna have an open sewer problem, but they always had that, you know. But the overall, you know, you got the Champs-Élysées, you got the Eiffel Tower, you got the Louvre, it's a very beautiful, very historic place. And, you know, it's one of those things that, hang on to say, that it's a pretty amazing Olympics. I agree with you. I think it's probably one of the most celebrated Olympics. And I know the last couple have not been so hot. The Tokyo Games of 2021 that was COVID delayed did not go over well at all. And I think the ones before that was the games in Rio, and it did not do well. But it seems like Paris is getting us back on track to the level of grandness and scale of an event we have every 4 years, which is the Summer Olympics. And very powerful stories, very compelling Olympics worldwide. So it's kind of nice, and it's kind of nice that Paris is pulling this off, and bravo to the French people for really investing into the production values of the event and elevating it back up to the stage that it deserves. But that is it. That's our last topic of the day, and we're gonna dance out with another edition, the first Wednesday of August edition of Two Queers in a Truck, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye, y'all. Bye, boo. Happy Pride Month in Charlotte.
Happy Pride Month. Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck. And we are in the month of August. It's still hot out there. Be careful in many parts of our country, including the areas that are affected by different wildfires. Be safe. Be practical. Drink lots of water. We'll see you next week.
Bye, boo.
Bye, boo.